no shortage of confidence there from Heather Monroe.
Here's a fun Santino's lore fact for anyone who doesn't know. Heather used to be a twerker, and that was a signature of her. And she actually lost her ability to twerk in a twerk battle with, I believe it was Brand Liv. And so it was very interesting to see her get in the ring today with her opponent, knowing that.
Well, that's absolutely got to be something that is in the back of the head of a Heather Monroe, and something that I think may have helped get us here where we are today. Let's hear from her herself, though. Clearly, Heather Monroe taking things a little personally between her and Katie Forbes. I imagine a lot of people have been looking forward to Katie Forbes looks to be making her entrance, and of course, known as the Queen of Twerking. Really,
right now.
There you go. Really became known to wrestling fans, I think, with Impact Wrestling TNA, and really got a lot of attention there. And since then, she's been a part of this sport. She told me earlier she saw that Heather was talking about trash, and she didn't like it. So here she is.
And, you know, Katie has trained here at Santino Bros. This was the first school she trained at in LA when she moved out here. And, yeah, you know, I've been in many classes with her, and she's just as dedicated a student as Heather was. I've also been in many classes with Heather, who was one of my trainers. Maybe a partner, but he is also a wrestler.
Of course, you look at the face of Heather Monroe as Katie Forbes makes her way to the ring. We talked about Heather Monroe's background. Do you think there's a little bit of jealousy in it?
I do. I was just going to say, this is like when your parents are like, pretend to be upset at you because you tried pot, but they know good and well they tried pot too. That's what's happening right now.
Especially seeing the success that someone like Katie Forbes has had. Really rubbing it in Heather Monroe's face here.
Literally.
As we're about to get started.
Literally.
I think the referee's going to have his hands full as we throw things over to Pinky Santino.
Ladies and gentlemen, the following contest is scheduled for one fall. Introducing first, standing to my right, she's fighting out of Des Moines, Iowa. She is the Killer Big Heather Monroe. And her opponent, standing to my left, fighting out of Atlanta, Georgia. She is the Twerk Queen, Mrs. Van Dam, Katie
Heather Monroe denying the folks in the front row a show.
It's for our own good.
With that fan that Heather Monroe is known for. Now, I want to remind everyone our next matches are going to be our main event, Delilah Doom versus Simone Williams. That one, a lot of history there. But this one, of course, as you mentioned, a lot of history. These two have trained together. They know each other. This isn't just some random pairing. And I think Heather takes some exception to Katie Forbes in the way she's approached the business versus the way Heather Monroe has approached the business.
I mean, absolutely. When Heather came out, for the first 3 years, she wrestled the same 2 or 3 women. For about 3 years. There's no growth, there's no diversity, you can't learn like that. And that was the scene out here. And so she really had to fight and struggle and claw her way up to the skill level that she is now. I mean, it's leaps and bounds once she actually started traveling and actually was able to gain that experience. Meanwhile, Katie has kind of had everything handed to her on a platter. So I could definitely see that being an issue for Heather, but we also have to remember Heather has not been pinned in a Santino Rose ring in 5 years.
And wouldn't it stick in her craw if it was Katie Forbes that was the first to put a notch in that loss column as Katie Forbes takes down Heather Monroe. Again, Katie Forbes trained at Santino Brothers, and the thing about Santino Brothers is they don't give anyone special treatment. So she went through the same type of training Heather Monroe did. As we see, going for an armbar here, Heather Monroe rolls it over.
And that's something you really do have to remember. You can say that
Katie got a cover.
Doesn't take wrestling seriously, or she's only here for the fame. That's what a lot of people do say about her. But I've been in training with her. She tries just as hard as everyone else. She's just as focused. She's just as driven to achieve her dreams.
Katie Forbes, of course, married to Rob Van Dam. A true wrestling family there. Katie Forbes also let me know her girlfriend is in attendance tonight, so she's got some support here, even if Heather Monroe may seem like she's in home field territory.
You know, Heather was one of my trainers when I first started, and you know, as much as it's easy to hate on her, she has an abrasive personality that kind of rubs you the wrong way. She was also instrumental in helping myself, Simone, as well as Viva Van at the time, to really step it up. She said, why are you always the last ones in the ring? Why are the women always the last ones to volunteer and get in the ring and training? And just those words inspired a complete change in us. So I do also have to give credit where credit is due to Heather.
Heather Monroe, really a mix of that confidence with competitive edge.
A lot of people, I think, underestimate Heather because they may have seen her old Heather, as I would say. Oh, sorry, I don't want to talk during the twerking. It's a bit hypnotizing.
It's very important. You're supposed to lay out for the twerking.
This is quite insulting. They're playing Heather's music for Katie to twerk. Is Heather going to twerk again? She happens to,
But Katie Forbes saw it coming.
I didn't mean to get my
Rolls
hopes
through.
up. I can't lie. My hopes were up. I am a little disappointed.
Almost got one up on Heather Monroe.
Oh, this is not where Heather wants to be. I've been here before. Ugh, it's like a ton of bricks hitting you in the face.
And just about knocked Heather Monroe unconscious.
I know it looks soft as a fluffy bun, but it hurts when it hits you in the face.
Well, look, it's Heather Monroe knows how, or Katie Forbes, I should say, knows how to use what she has as a weapon. As we see it here, I think a lot of people may be a little shocked at the dominance that Katie Forbes has. We talk about how seriously she takes pro wrestling, but she's really taken it to Heather Monroe, who, as mentioned, hasn't lost in Santino Brothers in 5 years.
One thing I'll say about Katie that she said, again, just hit me like a ton of bricks. That Katie once said in a class, she said, I'm your longest intermediate student ever. And it was a joke, but what it really meant was like, Katie does not give up. Katie has never given up, no matter how people treat her, no matter what anybody says about her. Katie believes in Katie. And I think that's what has driven her to such success.
Well, Heather Monroe's had enough of this, I think. Walking out, I don't know if she's just trying to take a breather or if she's given up here, but Katie Forbes didn't come all the way out here just to have a walkout victory.
Oh man, just smacking her up.
Heather Monroe trying to escape through the crowd.
It's kind of a smart tactic. Probably harder for Katie to get through those small spaces.
Might be a good move, threading the needle there between the people. Is Heather getting back in the ring now? No, just trying to break the count. Heather Monroe, she's been in a lot of places, of course, championship wrestling. She's been here at Santino Brothers. Also was in AEW, faced women's champion Hikaru Shida at the time. So has some big match experience.
I mean, I've seen her on WWE. She's I think the only two-time back-to-back SoCal Women's Wrestler of the Year.
Absolutely.
The history is there.
Heather Monroe, really as good as they come. I always feel like the one thing holding Heather Monroe back sometimes is her own sense of self and how high she values herself at times.
And as I mentioned before, that's something Katie has in spades. Self-confidence, self-belief.
Just those big chops. Katie Forbes not letting a lot of space get between the two of them.
She's really focused. You can see it. She has something to prove. She's coming in here with something to prove.
Well, I think it's one thing if just some person on Twitter is talking trash. Oh,
that's gotta hurt. That has got to hurt.
And how quickly things can change. No, saying I think it's one thing when just some person on Twitter is talking trash, but when someone you trained with, someone who you came up with, is talking trash.
Right,
it is
I
being
think they
difficult.
debuted the same year, in fact.
It's got to hurt a lot more, right?
Absolutely. You feel like a betrayal. Oh, she's just attacking Katie's main weapon. That is so smart. Classic Heather Monroe. She's really cerebral. A lot of people think she isn't because she plays up the dumb blonde, but that's also part of her cerebral tactics.
Well, let me ask you this. Heather Monroe appears to be attacking the strongest part of Katie Forbes here. Is that the smart move?
Absolutely. If you can get it, I mean, a lot of people don't think about it this way. It's not just pretty to look at. The glute muscle allows you to run. It allows you to move. It allows you to have force and impact behind any lower body moves whatsoever. If you weaken that, she is going to halve her strength. But the other issue is, because it is such a strong muscle, it may just take more work to wear it down.
I want to remind everyone we will be back here. Oh, we got a cover. I want to remind everyone that we will be back here in Azusa on August 29th for Fight Night. See the fallout of the LA Rumble right here live in Azusa or streaming on Triller TV. Our next event, though, will be here June 20th right here in Azusa, also on Triller TV. Lots of great action coming up from Santino Brothers. Don't miss any of it. Heather Monroe, again, going back to work on that midsection.
I'm actually really impressed to hear the crowd is behind Katie. I mean, that has to, even if she loses the match today, that has to be a victory for her heart to know that she was able to come back to Santino's and win their hearts over Heather Monroe.
Well, let me ask you about this. Katie Forbes calls herself the queen of OnlyFans. Katie Forbes at OnlyFans. She has options. She can do other things. She doesn't have to be a wrestler. Is there something, just the heart and the desire to want to be in the ring that Katie Forbes has?
And this is again what I have to say when people try to talk about Katie. Katie does not have to be here. Katie's not doing this for money. She's not even doing it for fame. She's got that already. What she's doing it for is because she, like every other woman here, loves professional wrestling.
Heather Monroe trying to use a little bit of the similar Katie Forbes offense, not having quite the same effect.
That's got to be embarrassing.
There is only one Katie Forbes.
I mean, if my butt hit someone in the face and they simply laughed, I don't know if I could keep going.
We got an axe kick, cover, could this be it?
She's got to stay on Heather. It's amazing. She's got this momentum. She has to keep it up.
Heather Monroe, it feels like every time she starts to get momentum, every time she starts to get something going, Katie Forbes has an answer.
Oh, this is not the answer he's thinking.
Oh, that and then some. Katie Forbes, that might be it.
Yeah, I wouldn't get back up personally. But that's the heart of Heather. Won't let her quit.
Yeah, you see the way Heather Monroe's kicking out, and it almost, we talked about the instinctual kickouts. Hers absolutely feel like that. The alarm just went off and you got to get out of bed kick out. It's the getting up in desperation there. Heather Monroe fighting out, trying to get something going off the ropes.
Yeah, she doesn't want to be up there. Katie can squat a whole person. Oh. Just threw her whole body back on that drop.
Samoan drop cover.
Barely a kick out.
Didn't look like Katie Forbes was able to get all of her weight down. May have been the difference maker there, but
She had, like I said, she has been weakened in the glute. And what do you need to hold somebody above you? Your glute muscle.
absolutely. So now Heather Monroe trying to get back in this thing.
She going for a Pichinoku, perhaps?
Oh, roll up, small package.
I held my breath just then. That would have been.
We almost saw the 5-year streak come to an end. With the bitch better have my money off the rope. There goes the family-friendly tag. Hooks the leg. And Heather Monroe is flummoxed that did not get the win.
I mean, she's had victories over DKC, Andy Brown, Dawn Kubrick. I mean, she's got to be wondering, how can I not be defeating Katie Forbes right now? And that's why you don't underestimate your opponent.
Last time we saw Heather Monroe was at California Love WrestleMania weekend as part of GCW's The Collective here for Santino Brothers. Just a big chop to Katie Forbes, and as personal issues always tend to do, Sarah, this one's breaking down into a slugfest. Heather Monroe caught though. Cover, and that does it.
That's what bad behavior does to
you. You know, Katie Forbes put up an incredible fight, but the 5-year streak continues. Heather Monroe called her shot, as we see it here. Gets Katie Forbes up for that bad behavior, plants her, and gets the 1, 2, 3.
You know, I have to say again, to Heather Monroe's credit, how she inspires other women. That's probably my favorite Katie Forbes match I've ever seen. She brought the beast out of Katie in this match.
You've got to bring the best if you want to compete with Heather Monroe. Heather Monroe gets another win, continues her dominance. Speaking of dominance, we've got a huge main event for you coming up. But before we get there, I'd like you all to take a look at this.